Hey friends, this is actually a really exciting build series that we are starting right now. Well, it's the anticipation of a build series. Today, we're gonna start doing the most popular streamers on Twitch and replicating their gaming builds one for one and building them ourselves. This means that we're spending a lot of money. This is by far the most that I've ever spent on a computer build because I've purchased every single one of the components that's here on the table. I did have some help from Wootware with getting the water cooling parts, but yes, it was very expensive. So in order to help recoup some of that cost, let's talk about today's sponsor. Today's video is actually brought to you by Skillshare. Skillshare, my friends, is an online learning community where you can finally hone those skills that you've always wanted to improve but never really knew how. They've got thousands of classes in design, business, technology. They have premium memberships that give you unlimited access to really great classes from experts in their field. Learning from experts is obviously what you want to do as you're trying to improve your life, because that's, of course, what we all want to do. We all want to get better, and Skillshare is the way that you're going to be able to do it, especially since it's more than affordable with classes coming in at less than $10 per month. So if you're interested in checking out Skillshare, you can go to the link in the video description, skl.sh/UFDtech2, and you can get signed up for a Skillshare membership. And the first 500 people who use the link in the video description will get 2 free months of Skillshare at no cost to them. That's what free means. So if you use the link skl.sh/UFDtech2, not only could you get a free membership if you're one of the first 500 people for 2 months, but then also if you're not one of those lucky people, it's super affordable, less than $10 a month to get your learning on. And I'd highly recommend it. Check it out. So we're back. Today's, as you could probably tell by the title, we're gonna be building Shroud's gaming PC. Now, as with a lot of streamers, they're actually not showing off their gaming builds right on stream, and there's not always the most up-to-date information in their description below their Twitch stream, because as is the case in a lot of instances, it's parts that they had a while ago. Several streamers still say they have 1080 Ti's when it's on record that they have upgraded to 2080 Ti's and the like. So what we've done is did our best sleuthing. We watched his streams, we looked at stream highlights, we looked at websites that compile this type of data, and we just tried to amalgamate to our best guess what is the gaming PC that Shroud is currently on and replicating it one for one. So let's go over all of the components and kind of discuss them. So up first is the pretty sexy Cougar Conquer case. It's more like an open air setup. Everything's gonna breathe real nice. It's just a nice looking case. So that's part number one, the case. Now, let's get into the actually expensive stuff. So there are a few things that are kind of out of date about Shroud's build. Let's start first with the motherboard and the CPU. Now, it's not on record that he's upgraded to 9th gen Intel parts, but what we have is the Intel i7-8700K. That's what we've been told is what he has. That's what we've been able to find. And then, based on this video clip, we can clearly see that he has the ROG Strix Z370 Maximus 10 formula. So we have these parts right here. These go very well together. Asus makes some solid quality motherboards. It's all really good. Then, to cool everything, he has a custom liquid cooling setup. So he has a 360mm radiator at the front, a 250mm radiator at the top. He's got the pump res combo, and he has a CPU water block. Now, from everything I can see, he hasn't yet liquid cooled his GPU. It's just the processor that he has. So he has 2 radiators for 1 CPU, which is pretty good, especially since he overclocks it to 5.3 gigahertz. That's actually quite a hefty overclock, and I'm not even sure that our 8700K is going to be able to do that, because there are only special golden samples that can really get that high. But we're gonna do our best to overclock it to try to match Shroud's performance one for one. So that's the water cooling parts, all of that is really good. We picked up this EK Cryofuel Acid Green Premix. This is the closest color that I've been able to find that's a premix that comes out readily available. And with all of these parts, we'll have links in the video description. If you guys are interested in buying any of the parts that Shroud has in his gaming PC, or trying to replicate it completely, then everything is down below in the comments for you to check out. So let's talk about the RAM. He has 16 gigabytes of G.Skill Trident Z RGB RAM running at 3600 megahertz. Now, Trident Z RGB doesn't come in this pretty little box. The Royal versions do. I just like the way this looks, so I just put it all in here, and now it's pretty. So we'll put that in the system. Then the reason we actually know so much about Shroud's gaming PC is because he actually swapped out his 1080 Ti Strix for an RTX 2080 Ti Founders Edition live on stream. It gave us the best and most clear indication of the entire system that he has. So this is the graphics card that is going into his gaming PC. And then we've got to talk about the slight adjustments that I made. Let's talk about the one I had to change completely, and that is the power supply. So Shroud is actually running an EVGA 1000 watt GQ power supply. As far as I can tell, those are end of life. Those don't exist anymore. You can find a few used ones here and there. I believe EVGA is actually still selling them on their website, but I haven't been able to find them on Newegg or Amazon in stock for quite some time. There is the upgraded version, which is the 1000 watt G2. However, the reason we didn't go with that one is because it has these hideous red cables. Why would you do that, EVGA? Those are ugly. It completely ruins the aesthetic of the build. So what we went with instead, thanks to Wootware here in South Africa, is this Superflower 1000 watt 80 plus gold power supply. Now, Superflower is not a common brand, especially in the United States. However, EVGA actually does use Superflower to make some of their power supplies. So we're not really going that far off. We have the same power efficiency. We're getting really clean cables like he has in his build. We are adding a bit of white LEDs to the mix-up, so it is going to be slightly different. But if I wanted to buy a GQ power supply, it was going to cost me $800, and it's a $180 power supply. I'm not spending $800 on it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And then the other thing that we changed, for good reason, is that Shroud is running on the Samsung 960 Pro 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. That is 2 generations old at this point. And so what we picked up is a 2 terabyte NVMe drive from Mushkin. This is the Pilot. So this actually has nearly identical read and write speeds as Shroud's 960 Pro. The technology has improved and the price has come down significantly. I believe we paid only $350 for this. If you want to say in the Samsung family, the 970 EVO 2 terabyte costs around $500. That's going to get you nearly identical performance to the 960 Pro that Shroud is running. So we made a couple of changes, but nothing that's going to affect the speed, the efficiency, or anything that's happening with this build. Nearly one for one, as best as we could possibly get. And I forgot a couple things, so let me go grab those. They weren't on the table. So with all of those water cooling parts, you need something to actually cool them down, and that's where these Corsair Ll 120 Rgb fans come in. Shroud actually has 5 of these in his system, so that's the description of the build. As I mentioned, everything is in the video description for you guys to check out if you're interested in picking up any of the parts that he has. This is just his gaming PC. This is what I know best. All of his other components and peripherals, they'd be wasted on me, but I know computer parts. So we're gonna take a look at building this thing and actually getting Shroud's build set up right now. So let's go ahead and start with building it. So the best strategy when building a PC is always to do as much construction outside of the case as you possibly can. However, that's not really a concern today since this is an open air case. You're not really enclosing anything. It doesn't really get hard to access when you finally put all the parts in the system, but we're still going to abide by best practices anyways. So we have the i7 8700K. This, as I mentioned, is a generation old at this point. This is a 6-core, 12-thread processor with a 3.7 gigahertz base clock. And from what I've been able to do, I can overclock this pretty easily to 5 gigahertz. 5.3 is probably going to be a stretch, but with all of that cooling that Shroud has in his system, we might be able to get there as well. That's set up. Now let's get the RAM installed, and that's gonna look pretty gorgeous once the system is all set up. Now we can actually install the SSD. The best part about M.2 drives, the NVMe ones, or just M.2 drives in general, is that you have no cables. That's basically all we can do outside of the system for now. I've tested the parts previously. They should completely work. Whew, now we got to build into the Conquer case. So it has two sides of tempered glass on the front and on the back. We're going to take off both panels and just kind of set it off to the side. Now, if you notice any scratches or anything that potentially seems a bit off about either the case or the motherboard, it's because I had to buy them used, because this is out of stock here in South Africa and the motherboard is old. It's no longer the current generation, so it's also out of stock. They don't exist here anymore. Oh, this is worse than I thought. I'm gonna need to clean this. Why did this guy just throw stickers on here? This is what happened when you buy used, folks. Once we take the top and the front panel off, we'll have easy access to actually install the radiators and get the entire system liquid cooled. We might have a better time installing the power supply first to just give it some bottom weighting. Nah, screw it, let's get the motherboard in. iFixit Protect Toolkit. You can actually tighten down motherboard standoffs, because these ones are pretty loose. Protect Toolkit. Makes you feel like a pro. Like Shroud. I can build computers like Shroud because I got my Protect Toolkit. It's fine. So even though Superflower doesn't sound like a great brand name, they package these things so sublimely. Got the nice little carrying case right there. You got the translucent for the white LEDs right here, and then they're all black sleeved cables, and then it comes out to black wiring at the end. So power supply should just mount over here. That is a good, pretty start. That is already starting to look like a computer case. So actually, we're not gonna power everything on right now, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up the liquid cooling loop and we're gonna let that run by itself to do some leak testing before we get everything else turned on. Because if the liquid cooling setup leaks while nothing else is turned on, we should be saved, because we could just salvage everything, dry it off, and then start up. But if we have everything powered on while we're testing and leaking, would be a bad news bear, giant bad bear. So let's get the water cooling stuff set up. So let's go ahead and start with the CPU block. This is the EK Supremacy Evo. This should be the right one. This is actually quite difficult. Oh man, there's no way to hand tighten those properly. So that's done. Now it's time for the fun part. To install the block, we actually get to peel this off. Please remove before use. Don't forget that, friends. Now, you just do a little bit. Just a little squirt, like a grain of rice. Oh yeah, look at that copper finish. There we go. All right, CPU block installed. However, it is 8 p.m. right now, so we need to call it quits for the night. We'll be back at this tomorrow morning. Okay, it's the next day. It's a good solid 12:30. So now we're ready to move on to the water cooling stuff. I printed out a picture of the screenshot just so I can make sure I get everything right. We got 45-degree fittings here on the CPU block. We got two 90-degree fittings on the water pump, and we have a straight fitting there. We have a 45-degree fitting there, into a 90-degree fitting there, and then a straight fitting from the top right to the CPU block. So pretty straightforward setup, so this shouldn't be too difficult. See, so these are the PE 240 and 360. It doesn't look like he has the slim editions, doesn't look like there's anything special about them. So this is the orientation that he has for the front rad, and then the pump res combo goes over here, and then he has the 360 up top, and then tubes running to each of them. Oh, he has it rotated differently. So the EK logo is right here at the top, and then he has the outtake going into that 360 right up there, and then the intake from the pump at the bottom. Okay, that makes sense. The route is run correctly. I just didn't realize it was rotated 90 degrees. That is a simple fix. So EK logo goes like that. It's rotated slightly. Like I said, easy fix. Now it's time for the pump res combo. So this is the Revo D5 pump and res combo. All right, so that's pretty secure. This is gonna go like that. This is gonna go right like that. Radiators. Yay! So we have this. There's enough space to still mount it in there. Let me tighten this up so it just stays. That's the way Shroud has it. He has everything blowing back into the system. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe if he ever sees this video, he can answer as to why that's the case. Haha! Screw one. Done. I'm going to end you. It's the initial catch that's the hardest part. Okay, number 2. Let's get the 240 installed. If you only had one shot, one opportunity, would you capture it? Would you let it go? Shroud is ready. His eyes on the target already. He's nervous, but on the surface he looks Shroud. Finally! Fans are done. The hardest part was getting them to stick to the radiator. Gosh dang. Okay, so we're ready to do the leak testing. We got all of the tubing set up. Let's go ahead and just get some paper towels, especially over the most precarious parts. Power supply for sure. Let's also remove the graphics card because that does not need to be in here for leak testing, I'll tell you what. Okay, so we have the pre-mixed cryo fuel right here from EK. It's roughly the right color. We'll see how this looks once everything goes through. Oh, we also need to plug in the power supply. Okay, so let's turn it on and see what happens. There we go. Let's test number one. Let's fill it up some more. I don't see any pre-leaks, but we're gonna have to run this for a while to make sure everything's fine. This is actually a pretty substantially sized loop, especially considering that we're only cooling the CPU here. I don't think I need to put the lid on every time. He says, probably going to regret that decision. Yeah, I'll still do it, caution, you know. But I don't see any leaks anywhere right now, which is always a good sign. So now, the only thing to do at this point is wait for the leak test to kind of run for a while, make sure everything's good, then we'll turn on the system itself, do cable management, make sure to get all the bubbles out of this thing, and move on from there. But right now, I'm sitting pretty happy with this thing. I'm done. Oh my goodness, I am done. This is Shroud's gaming PC built right here. There's a couple of things that he does weird. He doesn't keep this part on. He doesn't have the front part on from all of the evidence that I have of the entire build. So the front cover, which has like a cougar logo, and this orange piece doesn't exist. But this liquid cooled, everything's good. It's not leaking. We have this slightly different power supply, slightly different 2 terabyte hard drive in there, but everything else performance-wise, this is about the freaking same. So again, I'll reiterate my complaints here at the end of this video. The fan distribution makes no sense. I don't understand why he has the fans blowing into the system. The top is blowing down, these are blowing in, these should be mounted here, blowing out, these should be mounted on this side, blowing out. That would be a much better setup. And then also the fact that it's a Maximus 10 formula, which has mounts to actually liquid cool the VRMs right here, and it's the same fittings as everything else. We could totally liquid cool this, but Shroud doesn't do it for whatever reason, which, I mean, if you don't need it, you don't need it. But other than that, there's a lot of flexibility. If he ever wanted to water cool his graphics card, the 360mm radiator and the 240mm radiator provide enough heat dissipation that he could liquid cool the RTX 2080 Ti and an 8700K. Well, obviously, he doesn't need better gear. He's one of the best players in the entire world, destroying everybody at whatever game he plays. The gear isn't what makes him, but we wanted to take a look at what is the gear of the best streamers in the world. Can we build it? Is it accessible? And if you have around $4,000, it's not too difficult to build. It's a standard liquid cooling loop. The flexible soft tubing makes it pretty easy to do. And yeah, that's good. So we're gonna end this video here. I want you guys, if you enjoyed this video at all, let us know what other streamer builds do you want us to check out. And if you have more resources that you could point us to that helps us understand what are in the builds, because we had to go digging in order to find this. So this could also not be accurate if he's changed anything and just never did it on stream. We wouldn't know, we wouldn't be privy to that information. So let us know what streamer do you want us to cover down in the comment section. And then also we're gonna be benchmarking this thing, putting it through its paces, overclocking it, getting everything done, and seeing just how hard can we push this system. How much can we get Shroud's gaming PC to do? So stay tuned for part 2 of his PC, and we'll get that out to you sometime soon. Don't forget that this video was brought to you by Skillshare. If you guys want to improve yourself, you want to learn as much as you can about any given topic, whether it be marketing, business, finance, machine learning, check it out at the link in the video description. Yeah, now that that's over, hit the like button. If you enjoyed this video, please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech related content, streamer builds, other builds, tech news, what have you. We do a whole bunch of stuff here at UFD Tech. So I'm Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see your smiling faces again in the next video. Love you too. Why do you do that, Reece?
Makes you uncomfortable.
No, it makes them uncomfortable. I'm fine. It's just a camera.